Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. My name is Finto. This is episode 131. Tonight on the cast is myself and Alex, aka Zeberwolf. We're going to be talking about X-Men 97, episode 8, and a few other nerdy bits from out throughout the week. So without further ado, here we go. Yo, what's up?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. How are you?
Not too bad.
How was the week?
Pretty good. Just been doing a lot of like assessment work. I'm like, I think we talked about it last week. I was trying to work on these different assessments. It could take anywhere between 2 to 17 hours to complete, depending on like how well you know the information.
Right.
And actually it's a lot of stuff to learn. So like I just went through the whole thing. So like it took me quite a while. In some cases I got bored and was like, I'll just take the assessment and see if I can go through it. And like for things that I'm vastly knowledgeable about, like 5G, extended reality, generative AI, which is kind of like the new thing that's coming out, like which I'm really excited about. AI is just going to be like the biggest thing coming through very soon. Like where it's already like integrating into a lot of our stuff, and I'm all for it, dude. Like it's so helpful throughout the day-to-day basis. It helps with a lot of like data and like a lot of data and information collection. Like it's fucking awesome. Like I could talk about it all day because like stuff like that, like that's why I love my job, because like it's just all these new innovative things that come out, and just having a great time with that. Also,
Yeah,
have I told you that I changed out my light fixture?
I don't think so. I know you were telling me about you set up a second PC recently and like your microphones and stuff like that. You were kind of extending the room for a 2 PC setup, but no, you didn't mention anything about lights.
Yeah. So I have never installed a fan before, like a ceiling fan.
Oh yeah.
Let alone, and to be honest, like nowadays it's a very simple like installation. You just kind of click it in there and you're good. It does take a little bit of like putting together, but other than that, like it's all great. It used to be like just a little light fixture, no fan. It gets hot as fucking here, and
Same
now
here.
it's yeah. So like now I think I can probably show it to you like from here.
Oh,
Now I
nice.
got that guy.
Hell yeah.
So
Look
yeah,
at
like
you.
it's
Look at you,
dude,
Mr. Handy.
I like working on the house now. It's awesome.
My
And
girlfriend loves it. My girlfriend loves like working on the house and stuff. I'm not massively into it, but she is. Like she was painted today and like sanding down like door frames and shit like that. I'm
and
painting
if
it. Like it's her thing. It's not really my thing.
dude, it's fucking cool. Like it's just knowing how to handle, like take care of your own household without
Mhm.
having to call like a plumber or even like an electrician.
Yeah.
The only thing I haven't done is like run lines through the house, which I think I'll just hire an electrician for that. I don't want to do that shit because we have like I want to put another fan in the living room, but it's like the kind of like the church, kind of like the angled.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I forgot what that's called, but essentially like it's too tall. Don't want to get a ladder. I'll have the electrician do it. They'll probably have all the products and available to get through, and they can
They'll do
be.
it so fast as well. Like, it's like I know there's like a learning curve to things that it's like it's an achievement to try and learn things like that, but at the same time I'm kind of like, let's let the professionals do this. I don't want to fuck it up.
Yeah,
Especially when it
like
comes to like electronics and stuff like that. Like it can be kind of scary.
it's cool, man. Like even
Yeah, yeah.
outside, like I learned how to take a tree out.
That's cool. Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I actually, when we first bought the house, we were like kind of doing some like landscaping at the back, and there was like a small tree that was put up, and the previous owners built a shed around this tiny tree instead of cutting it down. And
mhm.
I was like, "Get me a saw." I was like, "I'm chopping this fucker down." Like, and I cut a tree down like in the first day we moved in. Like, it was hilarious. We have like this giant tree out the back as well, which is gonna get taken down. I'm not doing that one, obviously. Like, we're getting a professional in to do that one, but
Right.
um yeah, it was. It's cool though. It is cool. Like I do agree, and I love doing stuff in like my room and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
when it comes to like doing up the kitchen and all that sort of thing, I just have no interest. And like her dad's a carpenter and stuff like that, so he can help out. Like he builds houses and stuff, so he can come in and help out with this sort of stuff. And the two of them love doing the DIY. So I'm like, yeah, I'll watch the kids. Like
Have you?
I have no problem.
Is that why she's like so like doing all the sanding and stuff on her own, because she's been taught
She's
by her dad?
she's grown up in it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, and he's a farmer as well. So like she was like, birthing sheep as a child. Like she'd get pulled out of the bed at like 2 o'clock in the
Holy
morning when
shit.
she was like 8 years old. It's like, we need you out in the farm. Like, so she had a very different childhood to me, like,
That's fucking sick. I like that. I really like that.
Yeah, no, cool. I like listening to you. I'm like, the two of you get on like a house on fire for sure. Before we get into the topics tonight, I just want to say, because I forgot at the very start of the podcast, but make sure you smash that like button if you're new here, subscribe, all that YouTube jargon. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, leave a review. It really helps us out. We're going to be talking about X-Men 97, episode 8. Also, I have a couple of more topics that I want to bring up, but we'll kind of free flow it and see where we go, because none of them are really too crazy important or anything. Did you watch the Acolyte? Or no, sorry, not the Acolyte. The Star Wars Tales of the Empire animated series?
No.
That's fine.
I
I'll give you a little like spoiler-free kind of review of it. I watched it all last night. It's not long. You can do it in about an hour and a half. Like, they're just kind of shorts. It's like 6 kind of shorts. But we'll go through that. We'll go through that later. The boys put out like their final kind of official trailer for season 4, which was great. The hype levels are 90 on that one. That's out next month. The Acolyte put out an official trailer as well, which kind of got me hyped for that show too. Like, it looks really good. And then there's some other kind of nerdy news as well. So we'll go through all that. First of all, X-Men 97, bro. Talk to me.
Oh, you tell me first, dude.
I absolutely loved this episode, and not just because Spider-Man showed up for fucking 4 seconds. Honestly, like, it was balls to the wall, fucking madness from start to finish. It really was. Like, there was just so many amazing moments in it. The Wolverine and Nightcrawler fight was like so cool to watch. Like, it was just choreographed so well and everything. I never realized, again, disclaimer, I'm not a big Marvel comics reader. I'm starting to it's starting to grow on me a little bit now, and I feel like even just watching the show, I feel like my kind of Marvel lore is growing a lot. I didn't know that Mystique was Nightcrawler's mother. I only found that out. Yeah, I only found that out watching this episode. I was like sitting there going, "Holy shit!" I was like, I didn't know that. So I was like, this episode's feeding me full of knowledge. It was just like, I'm loving it so much.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't put the two together. When you watch X-Men First Class, you see that there's Mystique, and there's Azazel, and Azazel is allowed to transport from one area to another. So you could tell that those two must have gotten together and had Kirk.
Yeah, so I never really thought about it. Like, I know he's like blue and he has the powers of Azazel, so when you kind of see it, like when you think about it like that, you're like, well, okay, that kind of makes sense. But like, there could be a million reasons why this mutant is blue. It doesn't have to be a Mystique. Like, so that's where I was. I didn't really think about it that way.
I mean, it is kind of like tongue in cheek. Like, you see his tail is the same as Azazel's too.
I know, but like, sure, there's like mutants that have similar kind of looks and stuff like that.
Tell me one.
I think I knew Azazel was his father, but I didn't know who the mother was. Yeah.
Gotcha. Really? That's kind of funny.
Yeah. I never thought about it. I don't know, it just never crossed my mind. I didn't think Mystique was down. Didn't think she was that freaky.
Oh no, she gets around.
Yeah, nice.
Oh yeah,
nice. Magneto, obviously, in this episode was an absolute fucking badass as well. And then there was a couple of cool cameos as well. I think Doom was there, and was Zemo there as well.
Yeah, that was Baron Zemo.
Yeah. So like, there was a couple of really cool, and they were obviously very like kind of comic accurate and stuff like that as well, which was just like a little nod of the cap to the sweaties. And then obviously Spider-Man popping in. People like, I think the writer of the show like went online straight away after that and said, yes, this is the animated series Spider-Man that you're looking at. Question I wanted to ask you about that, because I was thinking about it, and then I've seen a lot of people talking about it online as well. Like, this show obviously takes place in 1997. So some people are saying, like, is this Spider-Man that we're seeing the one that's gone out into the Spider-Verse looking for Mary Jane, and then is this him coming back, or has he not even left yet? So I'm trying to like think of the timeline. So there was 5 seasons in that original show. I don't exactly know off heart. Like, that show started in 94. So if it was a season per year, he wouldn't have gone into the Spider-Verse yet.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like, there could be like 2 seasons of that show to take place in the same day, like, you wouldn't even know. So I don't exactly know the timeline. It's cool either way. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, this is him. He's come back. Maybe he's found Mary Jane. Maybe he didn't." And then someone I kind of think that he hasn't left yet, which I think it'd be kind of cool if this was happening like during the original '94 show. So like in one of the later seasons, if this was happening at the same time, and then it would be a kind of good point for them to maybe extend one of those, like if they're going to continue on and actually make a Spider-Man show, and if they continue on like from this, like and try and add it into the X-Men '97, maybe it's like taking place during season 5 of the original show, and then they could maybe go into the Spider-Verse, and then we see exactly what happens. It kind of just picks up wherever they left off.
I mean, that's a big possibility, considering like, yeah, he does take off for the time being. It could also be a story in between that we'll see later on if they decide to revive the Spider-Man series. But for now, it is cool to see like that he popped up for a few seconds. That wasn't really like my big take, but I was really happy to see that they care so much about the world of Marvel that they're willing to show a few characters that are involved within the world itself, especially ones that are like very important. Considering that Silver Samurai and Omega Red got basically, well, you see Silver Samurai noticing the change that's going on due to Magneto, and then you see that Omega Red got let out because of Magneto. So now we're going to have a cyborg mutant like running rampant, that also has a vendetta against, I think, Wolverine. And Silver Samurai, I think, also has a problem with Wolverine. So you have two characters that are just like, yeah, we're ready to take shit down. We're going to be villains again. Like, it's going to cause chaos, which I'm so excited about. But concerning like Spider-Man, like I thought it was interesting that they made him like, they didn't let him say anything. It was just a brief moment.
Yeah.
It could have been like he could have said anything, but I do like the fact that it was just like nothing.
Yeah. Just him looking out, going like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like,
Right? Yeah. And I almost feel like they could have added maybe one more person from like maybe the Bronx or someone from New York, like maybe Daredevil or something, just that he's sensing things going on. But like, all in all, like the amount of people that show up in this episode is like immaculate. Like, it's just amazing. It's so well received, because then it shows how much these writers have cared about like the source material and wanting to see like different characters from the Marvel universe actually interact with the X-Men. And it's just so fucking cool to see Doctor Doom in the because of course, why wouldn't he be there? Because it's technology that he might be able to harness for himself to do other things, not necessarily in the way the Bastion would want. Then you see Baron Zemo, who just probably wants to see if it's any good as well, like, or if it's something that he needs to be aware of just so that he can combat against it in the near future. Because that's mainly what villains are. Is that although they want the technology that other villains have, they need to be wary about like, how important that technology is, or like how destructive it could be. So like, they're not just there to buy the product. They're there to make sure that the product isn't going to kill them. So like, that's how I saw that. And I really enjoyed that scene. It was very brief, but it was also cool to hear that Doom had a voice actor, and so did Zemo. It's just, it felt great. Like, but I can't help but be more excited about Omega Red. Seeing a mutant that was part of the Soviet Union that eventually became like kind of cyborg, like he was turned into a cyborg essentially.
Yeah.
And now he has carbonadium. I think it's called carbonadium. Like tentacles, which are essentially like more flexible forms of adamantium. They're not as hardened as adamantium, so they're not as durable, but they're damn near like invincible. So the combination is just so fun, especially when you think that like if he decides to go on a rampage and he runs into Wolverine's going to be able to cut up those like tentacles, those cables. But like, it just the fact that anybody else that can't cut them, they're fucked. They're gonna get screwed. I love stuff like that because like you actually have threats to each mutant in that sense.
Yeah,
like it's so fucking cool. I love that. And then the fact that Magneto, in his like, I don't think it was more rage filled. I think it was more so he had to do what he had to do in order to prevent the rest of the world from thinking that they could just overpower the mutants.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Wolverine is right. Like Magneto just started a war because now Magneto has shown how much of an Omega level mutant he is by being able to control all magnetized metals within the world at one time.
Yeah.
Which we haven't seen. Like I don't know if we've even seen that in the original. It's so fucking it's huge. It's like Cerebro levels of Magneto's, essentially, like controlling everything. And that moment when Charles Xavier shows up, that's the moment I was waiting for. It was that last, like, it's just, we're fucked. And then he shows up. I hope I'm not too late. And he calls the X-Men, and it's like, shit.
Yeah, no, dude, it was,
can't wait.
It was so cool. It really was. Like, I like. It's well known my girlfriend doesn't like anime, like, but I'm like genuine. I'm gonna wait for the season to finish, and I'm just gonna be like, you actually should really watch this because it's fucking fantastic, and it's not like in any way like childish at all. Like it seems like it really was made for us, you know. This is like a proper, like, salute and homage to the original fans. Like here's something to bring you back to your childhood, like, but we realize you're an adult now, so here it is with a bit of adult sprinkled all over it,
Oh yeah, it's like all over the place. It's like relationships,
Yeah.
like fatherhood, fucking like all these different things like that come in for adults.
Yeah.
But then you have that little sprinkle in between with Jubilee and I forgot what his name is. Is it Roberto?
Yeah, Roberto, I think. I keep forgetting his name as well, man. I'm fucking terrible.
Well, because they don't show him enough. They really need to show him more.
True, yeah. But I feel like he got a good bit of screen time at the start of the season as well, and I still don't know his name. I think maybe I need to go back and watch it one more time.
They didn't they didn't really use his name as much.
True.
But at the same time, it's like, well, now that he's starting to show up his powers, to save Jubilee, and because Jubilee can't fly, which I can't remember if she can or not in the comics. I don't know if she learns how to manipulate her ability.
I saw, when she just before she jumps off the roof, she tries to do something, and I'd say she'll probably practice that, and she'll learn the ability, I'm sure. But yeah, I thought that was very funny when she jumps off the thing, and it's like, you too, you can fly as well, and he's just like, I was gonna surprise you. Yeah, it was cool.
And it's so cool because of the fact that he was saying that he has been training in the danger room, so he cares about being able to protect other people to the point where he's willing to go into the danger room and practice.
Well, like, let me put it to you, like, if you found out that you were a mutant and you had powers, would you not want to be in like a practice room, like getting as good as you can get? I know I sure as fuck would. I'd need to know every single ounce of ability that I have and every single ounce of power that is available there to me. Like, you'd have to, bro. You'd have to.
It's true. And because Jubilee is still in like that young woman mindset, it seems like she doesn't really go to the danger room as often. So she might get left in the dust if she's not working on this hard enough.
Yeah, that's very valid. And I'd say she might, seeing a dude who's just like, accepted his powers and started to train to see how much he's maybe even like leapfrogged over her already. I'd say that's probably kind of been a bit of a reality slap for her.
I hope so. I want to see, I would love to see some danger room scenes.
Yeah.
As of right now, we can't, because it's like crazy. It's crazy screwed.
Yeah. What's up, Andre? How are you, brother? Yes, sir. Yeah, man. I just like, I'm trying to think like what my favorite part of the episode was. There was like, as I said, like there was so many good parts. Like I loved the fight with Wolverine and Nightcrawler. I just thought that was so fucking cool. Like that was something that, like, if you saw that in live action, you'd be like, your mind would be melting. Like it was just. It was epic. It was epic. Like it was so good, and the animations are just, they're getting so good. Like that they're like properly choreographing fights now and everything. Like it's crazy. And like, not to jump ahead, but like even the Tales of the Empire show, like this, like Disney again, like with Star Wars, like just it's some of the most beautiful animation that I've seen. Like there's a scene in it where one of the characters like punches the ground, and it's like sand and dirt, and like it looks real. Like it genuinely looks real. Like, so like they're upping their game so much. Like I can only imagine what animation's going to be like in 10, 15 years time. Like it's going to be probably indistinguishable from real life. Like, now maybe not the characters, but the worlds Like some of the Star Wars scenes, um, they look like the real Star Wars scenes. Like it looked like the actual CGI that they put into the live action was being put into the animation. So like when the Star Destroyers are moving through space, if you were just to see that as a clip by itself, you probably wouldn't be able to tell if it was from a live action movie or if it was from the animation. It's insane. Like it's very impressive what they
Right.
do now. Like it really is. Like, and I don't know if it's because it's getting maybe a little like easier to do. Like, you know, they're like at the start of the Clone Wars, for example, like the animation was very different. And I don't know if it was because of skill or technology or just time. I don't know what it is, or money or whatever it is. Maybe it's just getting cheaper and easier to do. So they're able to make it look better now. But like a lot of these like choreographed fights that we're seeing in X-Men, like they look like they're properly done by professionals. Like it's insane. Like, you know, the way like in old school animation, like the fights, they just look blurry, and you know, you're nearly kind of meant to use your imagination nearly in a sense, because it just looks terrible, you know. Whereas like now, like all these hits look like they're actually hitting, like they look like they're painful, like, you know, it's like real smooth and realistic movements and everything. It's crazy. It's like it's super impressive. Love
I
it.
mean, so thinking about that, have you watched Jujutsu Kaisen yet?
Not yet, but I sent you a message there. Like it's just gone up on Netflix for us here in Ireland.
Mhm.
So it's going to be my new kind of lunchtime show to kind of watch when I'm on my breaks and stuff. While I'm eating my lunch and stuff. So
Right. So if you want to talk choreography, like animes, where is that? Like they've
yeah,
really perfected it.
hell yeah,
It's especially with Jujutsu Kaisen, it's all a lot of it is hand to hand combat. So you're gonna see a lot of good like visualizations, like camera angles, like they really get it in. So
yeah,
like I think for animation's sake, especially for like X-Men 97, Jujutsu Kaisen, those are very easy to do because like now it's been refined to a T, and it's only going to get better. Um,
hmm,
for any sort of like 3D space animations, it's really I would say it's really still a little bit iffy because it's almost still kind of in the CGI kind of aspect of it. So
hmm,
it might get a little blurry here and there. And
yeah,
then with live action, it's just downright terrible to do during the day. A lot of the times you want to do it during like nighttime scenes, because then it really like gets rid of a lot of the blurriness that you'll see if they're going too fast, or if it's something that seems a little too unnatural.
yeah.
So that's why, like I've been saying time and time again, like I just want to go back to animation for a bit and like let film kind of take a break, which is, I'm hoping that that's the direction that they're going to go, considering that like X-Men 97 is doing so well, and that it's like kind of the talk of the town right now for a lot of Marvel fans.
Mm.
We're actually getting things that we want, not just like in terms of seeing source material, but also um like just being immersed in the world,
Yeah.
and feeling like we're a part of it again, and understanding like it, everything works within the same space. Like you have, like, they, again, Spider-Man didn't have to show him at all, but it's affecting the world. So like its range is all the way in New York.
Yeah.
It's hitting Silver Samurai. It broke out Omega Red. Like it's on a global scale.
Yeah.
And we already know Captain America is available. So like we know that the Avengers exist in this world. So like it's just a nice touch.
Well, the
Especially
fact. Sorry, I was going to say just the fact that we know this Spider-Man is the Spider-Man from that series, and they are sharing a universe. And from that Spider-Man show, we have seen the likes of the Fantastic Four and stuff, and Iron Man and
Yep.
War Machine and all these people before. So we do know that they exist, and Daredevil was in that show as well. So all these heroes do exist in this universe. So yeah, it's
Right.
great. Here's a question for you: would you like? So I know you're saying you'd love like the live action. I don't know if you mean like movies specifically, or like would you potentially like to see maybe a couple of the Disney Plus shows dropped or changed to anime, and maybe like the movies stay in place? Because I know the movies are getting a lot less and a lot more spread out. So I think that like potentially could be okay. The fact we only have one movie this year, we have like two next year, maybe, or three. I'm not sure, but I think it might be a good idea with the success of
Did,
this show that maybe they, instead of doing like live action, like, you know, Disney Plus shows, Daredevil excluded, of course, but I'd like to maybe see something like What If, like, actual MCU in animation, but aimed at like a character like, I don't know, Falcon, like, or something. I know he's getting his own movie, but like, have someone in the Avengers now doing an adventure in in animation, but it is actually part of the MCU.
So
I know technically everything's a multiverse right now, but X-Men 97 is obviously incredible. But we're talking about something that takes place in a different universe in the year 1997. It's not exactly current, and it's not exactly making a dent on the actual MCU itself. I know obviously for Marvel, it's great for the brand, but if we're talking about like the cinematic universe, it'd be kind of cool to have something done at this level, with this much care and everything, but it's actually part of the MCU. Like, would you like to see that? Like Andre is at the chat here, like giving some great recommendations. Like Midnight Suns, I think would be a really cool one. Like in animation, you could go like over the top with all the magic and everything. Like I think that'd be really fucking cool. And like Shang-Chi, we know he's getting another movie, but like it could be cool to like put him in a series or something like that. That'd be badass. Like I'd love that sort of stuff. Like, what do you think of that?
well, yeah, I've always said that I wanted the revival of different animated series and also like new ones.
Yeah,
It's just that's the bread and butter of Marvel. In my opinion, the MCU is kind of a different beast, and they've like kind of really fleshed it out like well enough to the point where it was great. But then when they thought that they could keep stretching it out,
yeah,
that's when we started seeing cracks.
of
And so
course, of
like
course. Like,
it shows fatigue in the live action sense, but clearly in the animation, we're not tired. It's like we're there is no such thing as a superhero fatigue at this time. It's a live action fatigue. It's all these
yeah,
different things they're appearing that don't make sense, that don't pertain to the world itself, that are isolated, don't feel like anything Marvel related. Like even if it has Marvel slapped on it, it
yeah,
feels way too much of a like the way I describe it is it's too much of a human based film where you'll
yeah,
have humans talking amongst other humans and no transformations whatsoever that look monstrous, no like characters that look menacing or monstrous or even like amalgamated. There's no mutations, there's nothing that can really like make us feel like we're in danger from a monstrous threat. It's all humans.
yeah,
And like it's that's what I think takes away from what Marvel truly is. Like everything within Marvel is based on horrible things that have happened to these characters, whether it be disfiguration, mutation, um, torture, all these different things that you don't necessarily see, in my opinion, you don't necessarily see in DC unless you get really deep into it.
mhm,
Marvel is just outright plain and simple, like radioactive spider bites Spider-Man, bites Peter Parker. He's now Spider-Man. Like that's insane. Like later on, he's able to mutate even further if it's not controlled. It's insane. Like things like that are a threat in Marvel, and to have these like live action movies that don't show these types of threats that often feels a little undermining of like these characters, um, and not really like giving certain characters like free roam or at least like a fleshed out story.
yeah,
um, Feels very like low end, because you really want to know what these characters are and what their goal is. Because when like in my opinion, when you watch Moon Knight, as much as I really like Moon Knight, I like the way that they did Mark Spector
yeah,
kind of felt flat. Like
yeah,
you kind of lose interest over time because I don't know if they just didn't want to take like the source material or try to like really push into the mystics of it, because you have
yeah,
a god. You essentially have a god standing right. You have gods, and guess what? You have this one scene where all the gods' avatars are, guess what? Humans.
yeah.
Again,
I
it's
think Moon
like,
Knight. Go on, sorry.
sorry, I just want to finish. Again,
Yeah, yeah,
it's like that moment where they're all possessed as avatars, by
Yeah.
the gods and goddesses, not showing themselves. And the only one that I think showed themselves was the alligator lady, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it. Because maybe that's all they had for the budget, because the rest of the shit didn't really matter. When they did like some of the monsters in Moon Knight, like you saw them a couple times, and then that was it. Then you were dealing with humans again.
Yeah.
It
It felt lazy. It felt cheap. And I kind of feel like as well that when Moon Knight came out, or definitely when it was being made, I don't think Disney had their full foot into the mature content just yet. So I think that Moon Knight was maybe a little test run for them. So like, we'll give them a bit of mature content. Like, we'll have Moon Knight like beating the fuck out of somebody in a bathroom on the ground. We'll make it look really violent. We won't show any blood just yet, but we'll let people's imaginations run wild. And then like, it is a very kind of adult kind of concept of somebody with a split personality and all that sort of stuff. Like, it is dark, but again, it wasn't like mature, if that makes sense. And now I think if they were to have made that show now with the current state of the MCU and where we are now, I think you could have potentially gone much further with it. And you could have maybe had a couple more of the scenes. And we talked about this when it happened live. If you're just listening to us now, you can go back and listen to all the Moon Knight episodes. But we were going crazy during the airing of that show. Like when they kept cutting to black and not showing us do you remember all the blackouts, bro? Oh my God. And like, I understood the blackouts at the very beginning because it's a bit like mysterious and you're kind of like, oh, what happens during the blackouts? But like do 2 or 3 of them max. And then, let us see what's going on, like the fact that they did a blackout in the finale drove me insane. I hated it so much. And like he wakes up and like the biggest fight of the entire, like the big fight at the end of the series, we missed the whole thing. That shit pissed me off. Like it really did. And I think if they were to make the show today, with the fact that they have like Punisher in here now and he's covered in blood, we've seen some behind the scenes photos and all, and like there was blood in Echo, and we're seeing a lot more. And like, obviously Deadpool 3 coming out. I think now they would have gone a lot more insane with Moon Knight than they did
Oh yeah.
when we got it.
Yeah, 100%. And then if you think about it, they should have really learned a bit of what they've done in the past, like of what other people have done in the past, in terms of like things that didn't actually happen. Yes, technically that did happen. He blacked out and then there was combat and then they're all dead. But I actually watched all the Twilight movies, and the last movie that you watch, there's this huge battle that goes on, which actually does happen in the books, apparently. But it's all a dream.
Yeah.
Essentially,
I've seen those. It's like a vision of the future. Yeah.
And how much of a fucking dick punch is that, even for a Twilight movie? Like everything's been going on, and then this was just an illusion. Because I guess they just didn't want people to die in the actual movies. And that's the problem. It's like people like Marvel characters, people die. Just like in DC, people die. Let it be a thing. People can die. People can get injured. People can bleed. It's real life. You have to teach people that thing. You can't just give this illusion. And
I think it's Disney though, trying to keep the child audience, and I think they realize that the audiences are getting older, and obviously there's new child audiences coming every year, of course, but you still need to cater to the kids that have been growing up watching the content over the years, like especially when you're doing a cinematic universe. Like, you know what I mean? If you're not doing a cinematic universe and you're just releasing a TV show about the Hulk every fucking 5 years, and then there's a new show but it's not related to the old show, of course you can just restart and start again. But like, if you've 10, 15, 20 years of content coming out, like, you have to mature with the content if you're continuing a story for 20 years, like, because people are going to grow up, they're going to become adults, they're going to want to see more dark shit. That's just human nature, so I don't know, bro. Yeah, and I think they have realized this now. I don't know if they need to like maybe didn't they actually? Sorry, I'm thinking they should like do a kind of branch off brand of Disney, and I think they have started this now. What do they call it? Marvel, or what is it? I think it's called Marvel Starlight or Spotlight or something. It's like a new division of what they're basically calling the rated R Disney, like like the way Disney have the way like DC have DC Black Label for all like the mature like rated R comics. I think Disney are now doing like a Marvel Spotlight, I think it's called, which is going to be
Mhm.
the banner that, Punisher and Daredevil, um, Deadpool, all these guys like fall under, where the Midnight Suns will probably sit if we do get a Moon Knight season 2. I saw Andre mention Moon Knight season 2 in the chat as well. Like, I don't know if that's been officially confirmed or what. I don't think Oscar Isaac has mentioned anything about coming back to Moon Knight. It might be a one and done. I don't know, but I would love to see the character appear again. If they do a Midnight Suns, perfect place for him to show up. If they do, well, we know they're doing Blade. Blade would be another great place for him to show up. The two of them could hunt vampires together. It'd be fucking fantastic. It'd be a lot more
Mhm.
comic accurate. So maybe we won't get Moon Knight season 2, but hopefully we get him showing up somewhere else. I'd love to see him on the Midnight Suns. It'd be a great place for him. They could do like a kind of, and maybe they do it in animation. I don't know. I don't know, but I think they do need to do something like that where they do have a team up on TV, like the way Netflix tried to do the Defenders, but do it better. Like the Defenders, I think is actually still really good. And after we've had Phase 4 and 5, if you go back and watch something like the Defenders, you're like, shit, this is actually really good. But at the time it was kind of shat on because the MCU was at such a height that it was like, oh, this isn't really great because we were watching stuff like Civil War and fucking The Winter Soldier and all this stuff. So it was just like, shit, yeah, no, this isn't great. But if you go back and watch it now after, Phase 4 and 5, you're kind of like, hey, this isn't that bad. Maybe I treated you too poorly. Have you seen that Thanos meme going around? It's like,
Oh
perhaps I
yeah.
treated you too poorly. Like, that's how I think about these shows now. Like, because it's like, maybe I'll go back and rewatch, Luke Cage and probably like it a lot more now as well.
Yeah, and like I'm not like, and for those kind of characters, because it's modern times, like you could absolutely change the costumes, especially if they're just regular looking people.
Yeah.
That's I think that's fine. But like if you give them a little flair, like a little bit of a costume flair, like you saw with Daredevil,
Yeah.
that gets people in seats. Like knowing that the suit's gonna come, but he's got his like it's basically like when you first play Spider-Man,
Mm.
like some of the older games, like I think Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, you have like the original like weird looking suit, like the wrestler suit, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, like the very like janky one, and then eventually he gets the normal suit, which I think is a really cool transition for these characters, especially in video games. So
Oh,
like
yeah.
having that with Daredevil was awesome because we knew it was coming. We're definitely going to see it. We're going to have him in the costume often once he has it available,
Mhm.
and we got what we wanted. And then the next season over, like he was still wearing it, and in some cases he wasn't, but he still had like his bandana. And
Mhm.
then in the third season, it's got like Poindexter putting it on for a bit.
That was so
Like
cool, bro.
it just, yeah, like but that's how important that suit is that it could be used against him.
Yeah.
And they used it in the show, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah. It's like Daredevil's lost his mind. He's like fucking slaying innocents and stuff, and you're like, oh shit. Then he has to go back to the old suit for a bit. Yeah, it's just it's a great idea to get it back into the original suit as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. I love it. That show is
Yes.
just it's a 10 out of 10 for me,
Oh yeah,
honestly.
it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal. Like, and I really hope that the new season they can just kind of continue it on as if it's season 4. Like, I really do. Like, I hope, and I think Feige came on set and kind of realized that it was going in a very different direction, and they've turned around and been like, "We got to go back. We got to go back."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go by the
yeah,
source material, go by the book, do what they were doing previously and just tag on from there, but
yeah.
don't change it drastically because you're now in a different division.
Mhm. Yeah,
You know,
yeah. No, it
keep it
doesn't make sense.
strong.
Doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. Like, the show has a 10 out of 10 rating. You know what I mean? Like, why would you change it? You know what I mean? Like, you've been given the gift of being able to continue this story. Why are you changing it? You know what I mean? It makes zero sense to me. Like, if I could slap some of these people in Disney and like just be like, guys, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? You're trying to ram an agenda down our throats and you're just literally missing out on pots of gold. Like, it's fucking being laid at your feet and you're changing it. What are you doing? And I think that, like, I hope that they're really just finally snapping out of it, but I don't know. I see things like Tales of the Empire and they like throw in stuff that it's like, oh guys, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just stuff where it's like this could have been another simple home run, But no, they have to go and add an agenda into it. It just people get sour, like, you know what I mean? It's just it's not the place for it, like, you know. Create new stories if you want to do that sort of thing, you know. It just it's so annoying, man. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
Andre says, "Start slapping Sony." I'd be giving more than slaps to Sony if I'm being honest. Like they are just diabolical with some of the stuff that they're doing. Like, just as Andre mentioned Sony there, I just want to go off into a little side topic because it was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. But I was watching a video on YouTube during the week. I think it was, oh god, I can't remember what channel it was on, but basically there was a couple of deleted scenes or like, you know, behind the scenes stuff that was done with like a release of Madam Web on digital. I think they released some like kind of development stuff like behind the scenes making of sort of shit for the movie, and they basically officially revealed that they had Spider-Man plans for that movie for Madam Web. Originally it was meant to be Andrew, then they tried to change it to, I think, Toby at one point, and then they tried to change it finally to Tom, Tom's Spider-Man, and they actually had concept art for Tom's Spider-Man, but they scrapped it all. Like basically, I think in some of like the official like sketches and like diagrams or whatever you want to call them, like, you know, like concept art. That's the word, concept art. Why couldn't I think of it? They had like Tom in his suit from No Way Home before it becomes like the, you know, the one that gets the goo thrown on it. For
Yeah,
it,
of
like,
course.
yeah, that one. So basically, they have him in that suit, but in the Madam Web timeline, or it's like a flash forward or something. But then it's like it just didn't make any sense. I'm struggling to try and explain it to you right now. But like, you know, they basically didn't even know what they were doing and got to a stage where they had like jumbled around with like the three different Spider-Man and none of the timelines worked. It just doesn't make any sense. But this is official now. You know, like they're like there was a concept art of Tom Holland being put into that movie somehow. And I think that kind of makes a little more sense as to why the likes of Sydney Sweeney probably thought that she was going to be in that she was in the MCU. I can kind of understand why she would think that now. And then like people like Dakota Johnson saying, you know, the movie that I was signed on for and the script that I originally read is not what we shot.
Mhm.
You know, and I think that for reasons like this is probably why, because when it was probably pitched to her, it's like, yeah, we're going to throw Andrew Garfield in it. Or like, you know, it's going to be the Venom verse, like with Tom Hardy, like that's going to be the universe that you guys live in or whatever, like, you know. And then they just go and completely change it, like
Well,
wild stuff, man. Wild, bro. Sony are like they're like cowboys in the wild wild west, man. Like it's just like it's insane what they're trying to do. Like it's just it'll be studied in years to come. It really will. It'll be studied. Like in film school and stuff, they'll be going like, how the
oh
fuck did
yeah,
Sony do this? You know what I mean?
yeah,
And like
exactly.
even like phase 4 and 5 of the MCU should probably be studied. You know what I mean? Like coming up to phase 3 and then like Infinity War Endgame, you've like the biggest like movie franchise in the world. You're like doing $1 billion movies, like it's nothing. Like every single movie was $1 billion movie. They were on the highest of highs, and then it just plummets. Like that will be studied in years to come as well, guaranteed.
Oh
Because it's
yeah,
like it's a miraculous fall from grace.
it's
It really is.
huge.
Yeah.
Mainly because they decide to employ or like use sources and then like change it drastically for like almost for their own amusement, which is like it's insane to think about it because it's like I can't even fathom why you would want to make a movie about Madam Web when like the character has the character I guess pun intended, the character had no legs. It's-
I understand exactly what you're trying to say. And like if you think about it, right, let's say for example, Tom Holland had 5 movies in the MCU. His Peter Parker had been like really developed. And then you do something like introduce Madam Web, and it kind of makes sense. It's kind of like the way the 94 series went. You know, Madam Web was kind of, you could hear her whispering to Peter maybe in like season 4 and stuff. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? Who's this? And then it's like, boom, Madam Web. And, you know, the Spider-Verse cracks open. It makes sense, you know? And I just don't think it makes sense right now to do something like that. And I understand Sony's animated Spider-Verse universe is popping off. It's incredible. It's 10 out of 10. It's amazing. And I think maybe they're like, oh, we need to just expand on this. Like the Sonyverse needs to turn into a Spider-Verse and away we go. But like they're just not there in live action. It's not the same quality that you're bringing out. Like, so just stop. Don't do it. You know what I mean? Like, and the Venom movies should be enough to tell them to course correct, in my opinion. Because like, when did the first Venom movie come out? In like 2018? It wasn't good, bro. It was terrible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that was out at the same time as like Infinity War. And you're releasing stuff like that, and then like, what are you doubling down going, actually, yeah, this is a great movie. Like I think the first one did quite good performance-wise in the box office and stuff. I probably equate that to two things. Number one, Tom Hardy. He's a bit of a hunk, people are gonna go see him for that reason. And then like, he is a movie star. I don't particularly I don't give him high praise at all, but a lot of people do. Fair enough. And then obviously, you're right on the coattails of Infinity War and Endgame hype and all this sort of stuff. And like even like Captain Marvel did over $1 billion. You know what I mean? So it's coming out during that time frame where nothing could fail. So I think that really equates to at least 50% of its success, if not more. And then the second movie comes out kind of in the downfall, and we see how shit that movie did. But like they were, in my eyes, they're both equally as shit as each other. Like I don't think either of them are good movies at all. I don't think Craven's going to be good. You know what I mean? Like it's just like Sony can't seem to win at all in live action. And like even going back as far as Andrew's movies, I have a soft spot for Andrew's movies. I think there's like a lot of gold in there, but nobody can dispute the fact that the second movie, like the storyline in the second movie was fucking terrible. And like, it just didn't work. You know what I mean? Like Jamie Foxx's character was just awful. And he didn't even particularly act great in that movie either. It was a real weird performance for him. But we saw the best Spider-Man suit in that movie. We saw the best like web swinging and CGI and fighting and all that stuff was all in that movie. And like I loved the story with Peter and Gwen and her death as well. Like was just crazy. You just didn't see it coming. Like the first time I watched it, I was like, holy shit, Gwen died. I just couldn't believe it. Like, because they never die. He always saves them at the end, So it was just like a shocker that she actually died. I was like, fuck. I was like, that was crazy.
Did you not know about that story?
No, I didn't know about that story.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
wow.
for me,
That's amazing.
For me, it was just like, whoa. I was like, holy shit. Because like, he's obviously gonna catch her as she's falling. Like, I'm like, of course he's gonna catch her. It'll be like by a millimeter, but he'll catch her. Like, and then just when you boom, hear that smack off the head, like off the ground, I was like, I wish I could see myself watching that in the cinema. Like, I wish I could see a reaction of myself watching that from like a hidden camera or something. Like, I'd say it would be a viral clip. Like, because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was crazy, bro. Crazy.
And one of the things I really thought was weird was that they had the opportunity to kind of go by the original way that the Green Goblin was created, which would have been like with Norman Osborn. And I know that we've seen it in the past, but like when they did it with Harry, it was like,
yeah,
you kind of made him look gritty. You put green in his hair, and then he said go.
Yeah, it was awful, bro. It was awful. Yeah, it was really, really bad. Jesus.
It was so bad. But yeah, like, dude, did you know that I think in the comics, Gwen and Norman like actually got together for a second?
Oh, Jesus.
That's crazy. It's fucked up. Like that story is fucked up. You should look it up. It's very fucked up.
I will. While we're talking about Gwen as well, the newest issue of Spider-Man Ultimates came out this week, and we got to meet Gwen from the Ultimates in this one, and she's married to Harry. They've been like married for 8 years, and the first panel that you see her, she's like kind of drawn, and she kind of looks like Margot Robbie or something. Like it was really cool. It was a weird scene. It was like they go on a double date, like MJ and Peter and Harry, and like I don't want to really want to ruin the story on you, but like they're doing it's a completely different kind of take to everything. Like you meet a goblin in this, and like Peter's only been Spider-Man for like 6 months or something like that, and he's in his 30s, but then it turns out it's Harry, but he's a good guy, and they become friends, but they're both heroes. So Goblin's a hero, and like they're working together and stuff, and then like they go out on a double date and they introduce their wives to each other and stuff like it, and it turns out to be Gwen. Like,
I fucking love stuff like that, dude. Like,
it's so good, man.
I love Marvel when they do all this multiverse stuff, like everything that they've done in the Ultimates. Like, I most people don't know that Ultimate Hulk is a fucking like kind of evil. Nice. He eats people.
Nice.
Like
That's
he's
cool.
literally like trying to eat people.
Yeah.
Even heroes. Sometimes he tries to eat heroes. It's fucked
Wow.
up. Like
Yeah.
Marvel gets really fucked up, especially in Ultimates.
That's sick, man. I'm really, really enjoying this. Like it's one of the best Spider-Man runs I've ever read. And I'm just like relating to it so much because he's in his 30s and he's got young kids and stuff like that. Like, and I'm just like, oh man, it's like this is like where I am in life right now. It's like it's fucking so cool. Like, and like Jonathan Hickman's writing it, and like he wrote like some of like the biggest hitters in like Marvel like over the last like however many years. Like he wrote like the latest version of Secret Wars and stuff, which I think is going to be heavily inspired in the movies and stuff like that. So I
Mhm.
need to read it. I need to read his Secret Wars for sure. I might buy like a nice collector's edition of it or something and give it a read. Oh yeah.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Um, do you have anything you want to jump into before I kind of spout off some random shit before we get out of here?
Um, ooh, I thought I had something in mind, but I can't seem to remember now. I mean, regarding like all the things that we saw in X-Men 97, which character beside like let's put Spider-Man on the side for a second.
It's fine.
Which character did you actually like to see show up in the most recent episode of 97?
I was very interested to see Doom because again, he's such an important character and we've been kind of theorizing like, when's he going to come into the MCU, who's going to play him, all this sort of stuff. So kind of seeing him pop up here, I was like, oh shit, and then obviously we know Secret Wars is around the corner and Doom is a very important part of Secret Wars as well. So, my mind started kind of going, ooh, are they doing this for a reason? Like he's on the screen for a reason, I think. I think they're gonna maybe try and bring him in sooner rather than later. And maybe like, they're kind of just throwing him in our face just to be like, remember this guy? Oh yeah, by the way, we just announced the Fantastic Four. He's kind of the big bad of that. And that was like where my excitement levels were. Um Again, like to shout it out, but like the Nightcrawler and Wolverine like made just like such a fucking cool duo. Like it was just so savage to see. Like and like the Sentinels like just getting chopped in half and they were like just reforming and everything. Like I was like, this is fucking terrifying as well.
Mhm.
Like it was so cool. And shout out as well to Cable and fucking Cyclops and all. I loved when they were in the Porsche and he's like, you've got a Porsche? And he's like, let's show him what the Summers could do and all. Like, it was just badass as well. Like there was so many badass moments in the episode, man. It was just fucking brilliant. I loved it.
I
Absolutely loved it.
I I I love that scene too, especially when Jean was like taking the wheel with her telekinetic powers, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
Scott
Put the
turns up
seatbelt
the
on Cable
beam.
in the ship as well. Put your
Put your
seatbelt on.
seatbelt on. Well,
I'd be
like
like, you're not my mother. You look like her, but you're
right,
not her.
but you see Cyclops like turn up the beam and create a new like tunnel for them to get
Yeah,
out of, while
yeah,
Cable is like doing cover fire so that they don't get the Porsche like smashed into. Like
yeah,
the whole combination of them working together, even though they were having this conflict, like really shows that they still care about each other. And then at the point you see, they jump out of the tunnel, they're all together. Jean's like holding them all together, and then then they like stand together, and then they do their like little pose, which I think is like really cool. It's very akin to like a comic scene that you'll see. Like
yeah,
it's so fucking well done.
yeah,
And then like, yeah, I agree. Like with Doom, like that was really cool to see. I really enjoyed that he had like a line just to talk about like what his thoughts were regarding the project for the
mhm,
zero tolerance project. And
yeah,
all like, and then the finale with Magneto, and then seeing like Silver Samurai and Omega Red, which like I'm way more excited to see Omega Red because I just think he's a very cool character. Very akin, in my opinion, to Whiplash, because like it's kind of like the same thing, like using like whips in the sense to attack your prey. But the fact that like his is made of carbonadium, which like I don't know why I keep wanting to go back to it. I think it's just because like I know that carbonadium is a big thing in the Marvel universe besides adamantium and vibranium, where
yeah.
like Doc Ock uses carbonadium. That's why like some people might be like, why don't you just cut off his tentacles? Why don't, because it's carbonadium. It's like damn near impossible to destroy those things.
Yeah.
You have to be as strong as Spider-Man to like even break it a little bit.
Doesn't he lose? Doesn't he lose one in No Way Home? I'm trying to remember now. Someone chopped it off or something.
Possibly. I can't remember. I should rewatch it.
I think it's Goblin. I think Goblin takes it off somehow. I don't know if it's with his glider or something, but I do remember in that final battle on the Statue of Liberty, I
Mhm.
do remember one of his tentacles getting chopped off, or like the head of it or whatever.
Right. And
Mm,
I would say in the MCU they probably don't want to mess with carbonadium. They've already got like vibranium, and I
yeah,
think that's all they want to
and
mess with.
adamantium coming now very soon as well.
Yeah.
Because I think
But I mean,
they've confirmed that Deadpool's blades are made of adamantium. Apparently,
I thought it was carbonadium.
I could have sworn I heard adamantium because then it would match him fighting Logan, like
It,
same metal on metal. Like,
actually, oh, you know what? Maybe it's a suit, because suits can be made of carbonadium as well because they're flexible.
okay,
It's like it's essentially like carbon fiber.
gotcha. Yeah, that
So
would make
like
sense.
Moon Knight's suit is made of carbonadium.
That's cool.
Yeah. So like that's what makes him damn near hard to kill. Like
Yeah,
it's because that's why he's able to just kind of run in and like do his own thing. It's kind of like Batman. Like, you know how like sometimes he'll add a little extra armor here, armor
yeah,
there. But that's one thing I really liked about the Dark Knight was when Fox was like, we took off a little bit of armor, made it a bit lighter so that you're able to maneuver better. He's like, what are the downsides? He's like, I mean, you can still get stabbed. Like you can,
yeah, yeah. It's realistic. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
So like
absolutely.
it's stuff like that, which they're probably not going to address the carbonadium, which I would love that. Like the nerd in me highly wants every little detail about these characters, like to be revealed
Yeah,
and to be known, like within the universe itself. Just for the fact that it's just cool. It's a cool concept. There's 3 different types of metals. One is slightly better than the other one. The other one is like just about as good, but it's like more flexible.
mhm,
It's fucking like I love that shit.
yes.
I get real giddy.
The nerdy shit, man. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. Um, did you see just before? Because I do want to talk a little bit about Star Wars because we're recording this on the 5th of May. Yesterday was May the 4th. A couple of
Today's
Star Wars
Revenge of the
bits.
5th.
Revenge of the Fifth. Yes, yes, yes. I didn't get a chance to actually watch Revenge of the Sith today, but I usually watch Revenge of the Sith on the 5th if I can, but I didn't get a chance today. But did you see Giancarlo Esposito he's recently come out and said that he's accepted a role in the MCU, but it's a mystery role at the moment, and it's not the role that everybody thinks it's going to be. So he's kind of confirmed that it's not going to be Xavier, but he has accepted a role in the MCU. So that's going to be probably announced very soon. Also, Ben Affleck is in talks with the MCU as well. I don't know if it's going to be for a ongoing role or if it's just going to be for like a Daredevil multiverse appearance or something. But I would
Mhm.
kind of like to see both. I'd love to see him in the MCU. All these guys that kind of got shafted by the DCEU, like Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck and everything. I'd love to see them like get a proper franchise on under their belts and become like fan favorites. Like I know a lot of people don't like Affleck as Batman. I loved him as Batman, and like if you ever watched any of the interviews with him, like for any of the press tours of any of the movies, like he truly loved being Batman. Like he had a young kid around the time that they were doing like Batman versus Superman. Like he's like I was dressed up as Batman. Like my son thought I was actually Batman. He's
Mhm.
like I'm going off to work, Dad. And he's like, oh, you going to the Batcave? And he's like, yes. Like that was the kind of thing. Like, and, Cavill said the same thing. Like, it's like when you put on the suit and become Superman, you actually have to become Superman because it is such an important role to humanity that, like, you nearly need to be on that level. Like, you need to become Clark Kent. Like, you need to be the good guy. So, like, I like the fact that they can acknowledge that and put that into practice. Like, kind of makes me feel like they're built and made for roles like these. So I'd love to see them get into a franchise. You know, it would have been great to see them in the MCU while the MCU was at the highest of highs, but maybe they can kind of start to rebuild it a little bit. But I think they deserve to get their chance to do that. Like, because I think they're great actors, and I think they would belong in the MCU if they were given the right roles.
Mhm.
Yeah, so couple of big roles probably coming up soon that we're gonna hear announced. I can kind of see Ben playing a Doom, to be honest. He kind of like if you think of him as like a Bruce Wayne, but like an evil Bruce Wayne, I think like he could kind of pull it off. He's got like the swagger to be wearing the suits and all that sort of stuff. And I think it could work. And then I could see Cavill in the same role. I kind of like the idea of Cavill as a Magneto, like a 616 Magneto or something. I've seen some people like take, when he had the long gray hair in The Witcher. I've seen some people like kind of make AI versions of Magneto as Cavill, but The Witcher, and it's kind of like a mock-up of like what the X-Men 97 version would look like in live action, like wearing that same sort of suit with the big M on the front and all. I'm like, bro, that fucking works, man. It looks great. I don't know. What do you think?
Now that I've seen Gladiator, I want him to be Gladiator. Like
Henry Cavill, Gladiator?
Yeah. How fucking, like, might as well, like, it's the exact same role as Superman.
Pretty much. I don't know how I feel about like the dude who they hired to be Hercules. I thought that was kind of maybe wasted. Like that would have been it was a weird casting. I like the dude.
Yeah.
But when I saw his face, I was like, this guy, the guy from fucking Ted Lasso, I was like, he's tiny in real life. I don't know if they like CGI'd him or something or what they did, but like he did look big, obviously. But I'm like, that dude's like a normal looking dude. Like, like when you see him acting as like a football player in Ted Lasso, I'm kind of like, yeah, like that's his frame. Like he's got the build. He looks like he could be a professional football player. He doesn't look like Hercules, So I don't know, bro. It's a weird one. It's a weird one.
Yeah, I mean they picked some really weird characters lately. I think it's just because maybe they were on fire during the time, and so they were like, "Oh, let's throw them in our movie. It'll get people jumping out of the seats." Be like, "Oh my god, it's Harry Styles. It's Firefox." Like,
yeah,
or Star Fox. Sorry. It's just like, what?
Yeah.
Like I get Patton Oswalt as Pip. I get that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fucking Patton Oswalt.
That's the easiest casting in the world.
Yeah.
But I don't get Harry Styles at all.
Yeah, but at the same, like, I get though that the difference between Thanos and Star Fox is the fact that like Star Fox is kind of like the perfect looking version of like his kind.
Yeah.
And so like I guess it would be that opposites kind of look.
Yeah.
Because I think they're half brothers or brothers. I can't remember.
Doesn't Thanos have like deviant blood in him or something like that? Like he is a deviant or something. That's how he's like deformed or whatever. Like that's how he looks, how he does, because he's the deviant. So like there's a storyline there where like the Eternals are trying to hunt him down and kill him, and they say like Thanos doing his mission of like the snap is actually helping the Eternals. So that's why they didn't go after him. You know what I mean?
Well, the way I remember it is that like Thanos is absolutely an Eternal. He's just not an Eternal in the MCU. So I think that's what they're trying to deviate from, because this Thanos is definitely different from what you see in the comics. In the comics, Thanos is literally the Mad Titan because he's a fucking crazy asshole. Like he like does everything for death because he wants to get with death.
Yeah.
And they completely like go off on their own rail for this Thanos, which I mean, it's the MCU. It's a different category of Thanos, which by all means, that's fine. It reaches the same kind of output that you'll get from like seeing the snap from the Infinity Gauntlet. It's just like this Thanos is different. So we can't say whether or not these two are related in the MCU, but in the comics, I believe he is an Eternal. He's just like for some reason got a mutation. He had a mutation, so like he looks different from the rest of them.
Okay. Is there not like, I don't know. I don't really want to talk about the Eternals because I don't know enough about them, so I might sound like an idiot. So I don't even want to talk about them. Yeah, look, we're live over an hour now. I'm just going to jump into a bit of Star Wars stuff and then we'll break up for the week. I don't think we're going to be live next week. So we'll have 2 weeks to kind of gather some stuff for the next. We'll have the last two. We'll have the last 2 episodes of XMEN 97. So the next time we sit down, it'll be done. Yeah, which is pretty cool. So that'll be great. That'll actually be the next one. Will be a good episode because we'll be able to kind of go over the entire first season and give a full breakdown of it, which will be great. Yes, yesterday was May the 4th. Happy May the 4th, anybody who's a Star Wars fan. They re-released the Phantom Menace for the 25-year anniversary. I thought it was only in the US. I checked a couple of weeks ago to see was it going to be available in any theaters here. There was no kind of showings of it at all, so I kind of put it to the back of my mind. I said, forget it. I saw people talking about it today, and I saw a couple of clips on like TikTok and stuff of like people watching it in like 4DX and all. I was like, fuck. I was like, I'd actually love to see that now again in the theaters, like, because I saw it 25 years ago. It changed my life. Like, I was 10 years old or 9 years old or whatever I was, and it blew my little mind. Like, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was a Star Wars fan for years already, and getting to see real lightsaber fights and stuff, I was like, holy shit, like, it just blew my mind. So I was like, I'm gonna go on and have a look again. The cinema that I go to, they actually have showings of it tomorrow. I'm going tomorrow. I cannot wait. I can't
that's
wait to
great.
see. Yeah, it's gonna be great, dude. I'm going to see it on like a 4K projector with Dolby in a recliner. I'm gonna sit back, fucking tray of nachos, and I'm gonna fucking watch like the pod racing scene in 4K on a giant screen. Like, it's gonna be epic. I can't wait. Um, yeah, it's great. But I know you said at the start of the cast that you didn't see Tales of the Empire. Did you watch Tales of the Jedi?
No, I really haven't watched any of like the off-brand stuff, other than like the Mandalorian, and
So
like I
it,
didn't even
it
I go ahead.
go on, sorry. No, go on.
I was just saying, like, I don't think we even finished Andor. It felt
I
like,
I definitely finished Andor. I just like was not really liking it. But I think we did talk about it live, like when it was airing. Like we did kind of go over it. I could understand why you feel like you forgot it, like it just wasn't great at all. But these shows, so Tales of the Jedi is incredible, like really, really good. And honestly, I think you should watch it. It's amazing. That came out like around this time last year. Then they kind of just surprisingly this year announced it maybe a couple of weeks ago that they were going to be launching on May the 4th, the Tales of the Empire, which is like the Tales of the Sith, which is like the reverse. Everyone was like, oh, do Tales of the Sith next, Tales of the Sith. We want to see like little mini stories about like, older Sith and stuff like that. And they basically just out of the blue just said, oh, yeah, by the way, Tales of the Empire is coming out on May the 4th. So everyone was like, holy shit. And then like the trailer for it came out maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was epic, like really, really impressively well made trailer. I was like, holy shit, I am very excited for this. You see the return of like General Grievous and stuff, and like it's just before episode 3, so it's like between episodes 2 and 3. And then like the Morgan Elsbeth, who was like one of the main characters in the Ahsoka show, she was like the dark sister, like the who was like helping Bale and Skull get to the other universe and shit. They do
right.
like her kind of origin in animation, and you see her kind of meeting Thrawn for the first time and stuff like that. Like, so stuff like that was really cool in the series, but they did a kind of storyline which started off really good with a young Jedi called Barriss, who, if you watch the Clone Wars and stuff like that, she's the reason why Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Order. She kind of frames her for a crime, and then she ends up they end up like kicking Ahsoka out of the Jedi Order. And then, like, they find out that it was Barriss that did it, and she gets locked up. But then, they're like to Ahsoka, we're so sorry, we didn't trust you, come back to the Jedi Order. And she's like, nah, I'm done. I'm done, bro. And she walks off. Like, she's like, just like,
Right.
fuck you guys. So basically, in this story, then it kind of picks up then after Order 66. Barriss gets picked up by the Inquisitors, and she basically becomes an Inquisitor. Like, so I think it's like episode 1 and 4. There's 6 episodes. They're all like 15 minutes. Like, they're pretty short. But like 1 and 4 were incredible. 2 was okay. 3 was like, it started kind of, so they did like 2 kind of main story arcs, and they both started really fucking strong. And then like they started just dipping down. So like, it's like 1, you're like at the peak. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then like 2 was like, not as good, but going down. And then 3, you're like, oh shit, no. And then it's like 4 again, peak, and then down 5 and 6. So it's all over the place, the series. Like, but again, you'll do the whole thing in an hour and a half. But funnily enough, like I was sitting watching it last night, and around episode 5, I was like, oh, I'm going to throw on the Star Wars Theory watch party, and I'm going to like have it on, and I'm going to play the episodes at the same time and just hear his reactions as I'm watching it. So I was watching like episodes 5 and 6, like with him and his watch party, like, but Jesus Christ, like some of the parts in episode 5 and 6, like it got really bad. Like the story was flat. It was just really poorly told. Like Barriss's arc just made no fucking sense. Like she's like an Inquisitor going around, like they're going around, the Inquisitors, like they go around killing Jedi and slaying anybody who gets in the way. and then she just magically just says like, "Oh, I'm going to become good now," and then she just like turns back to the light side, and then it kind of does like a little time jump or something, and she's aged, like it looks like she's aged a lot. But then one of the other Inquisitors who we see in live action in the Kenobi show, she's like the badass girl one that doesn't really say anything in the Kenobi show, but she has like the kind of long hair. She's the alien race. I think she's like the fourth sister or something they call her. I can't remember what her name was. But like again, like,
Varys.
no, I don't think so. Maybe it is. I can't remember her name. But anyway, she's in this show, and she's like a lot more going on in this show. But like we see Barriss, and she hasn't aged. She's aged a lot. Like she's got wrinkles on her face and shit. But the other one, the fourth sister or whatever you want to call her, hasn't aged at all. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It didn't make any sense. I was like, what the hell is this? It was weird, man. It was weird. It was very poor, very, very, very poorly written. And I I went like straight to Twitter, went straight to the comments and everything. Like I was just like watching like the live like Star Wars Theory Party, and everyone was just like, "This is so shit. This is terrible." Everyone was like hating it so much. Like it was like, oh, it was really bad, bro. But there's definitely there's some peaks there, but like there was a lot of lows as well. Like, it just wasn't great. I probably doesn't sell it for you to watch, but I think if you watch Tales of the Jedi and really like Tales of the Jedi, like it is a really good show. You get to see a young Dooku before he turns to the dark side. You get to see young Qui-Gon training with Dooku as well. When he was like his apprentice, you get to see a younger Mace Windu and stuff. Like there's some really cool shit, and then there's some good Ahsoka episodes in there as well. Like Tales of the Jedi was really fucking good, but this one just was nowhere near as good. They dropped the ball big time, which is a shame because I was really looking forward to it. And they put out a trailer for The Acolyte. It's like the official trailer for The Acolyte, and I gotta say, like again, a lot of people seem to be shitting on this show before it's even aired. Like, you can go and see how the videos are performing on YouTube. And like, I think if you use like Social Blade or one of those plugins, you can see how many dislikes the videos are getting. And it's like getting more dislikes than likes. And I don't understand it, honestly. Like when we finish talking here, go and watch the trailer for The Acolyte. Like I personally, I'm like, this looks kind of cool. It's set in like the High Republic times. There's loads of Jedi. You know what I mean? It kind of looks like what people are kind of giving out about that we're not getting enough of lately. It's like this show looks like it's it. Carrie-Anne Moss is in it. Maybe people don't like it because she's in it and she was in the Matrix or something, and it's kind of like breaking the Star Wars illusion. Like, I know Lucas always kind of preferred to hire lesser known actors because he didn't want people to be like, oh look, it's so and so in Star Wars. Like I know a lot of people became like, Harrison Ford obviously became a massive star. But like when he was hired, he wasn't that big. So like people wouldn't be like, hey, it's Indiana Jones. Like Indiana Jones wasn't made yet. Like, but it's like, even with like Ewan McGregor, big actor now, but when he got hired back in like 1997 when they were first making that movie, like I think he had done Trainspotting. Like, the vast majority of people maybe on your side of the world hadn't really seen Trainspotting at the time. And it like, was very much like an adult movie and stuff like that. So he wasn't really well known on the main stage. And then obviously, turned into a superstar now. But I think like Lucas always said he didn't really want to hire. That's why he liked to hire nobodies. And that's why like, he got like Hayden Christensen to play Anakin rather than going down the Leonardo DiCaprio route or Tobey Maguire or whatever the fuck, like, Paul Walker or whoever who was the big shit at the time. Because it was just like, it just breaks that immersion into the Star Wars universe when you're like, there's a fucking A-list actor pretending to be a Jedi. And maybe that's why people aren't liking this, because they're seeing Trinity from the Matrix in Star Wars and she's a Jedi Master. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? So I don't know. I'm going to give it a fair shake and see what it's like. Same with Tales of the Empire. I went in completely ready to watch something great. It wasn't, but it is what it is. I give them all a fair shake and see how they go. And I'll definitely be watching this show. We'll probably be talking about it here on the cast. And I'm excited. It looks cool. It does look cool. It looks very well made. Like the trailers are impressive. Now, the trailer for the Tales of the Empire was fucking incredible. So trailers can lie to us. We know this. We've been burned by this many, many times in the past.
That we do, sir. I mean, we've seen, like we saw Echo, and Echo might have been okay, but then it went downhill.
Yeah.
Saw Moon Knight. Moon Knight looked awesome. Then it started going downhill. Like things. It's just they really do a good job and making it seem like there's more to the story than what they're showing.
Yeah.
But the reality is that they're showing you all the highlights, and then they know that the rest of it is just boring
Filler.
or just downright shit.
Yeah. I'll never
And
forget the first Suicide Squad movie. Do you remember the 2016 Suicide Squad?
oh yeah,
They released the first trailer for that movie, and I remember sitting watching it in the theater. Me and my girlfriend looked at each other and go, "Oh my god, this might be the best like comic book movie ever made. Like this looks absolutely incredible. Wow, it just looks so explosive. I'm like, holy shit, like, you know, a story about a team of villains. Like it looks like they're like absolutely destroying the place. We got the Joker here. Holy shit, Batman's in the trailer. What the fuck?" Like, and then you watch the movie and you're like, "Oh my god, that was terrible." So like my girlfriend like doesn't watch trailers anymore because of that trailer. She's like, "Fuck this." Like she never felt so lied to in her life.
yeah, like it really is starting to turn into that moment of like you really don't want to look at trailers anymore because a lot of the times they're showing the like the best parts.
Yeah.
And then you go in and you're like, well, I already know what best parts there are. So what else are you going to show me?
Yeah.
It's like when we saw Black Widow.
Yeah.
And we were thinking like, okay, Black Widow would probably be pretty good. Like we're going to have like Red Guardian, we're going to have Yelena, we're going to have like different characters from the Black Widow like association. It sounds like a win. And they show like the trailer which has like the chase scene that you saw. And that's by like besides like the breakout with Alexei, like, and showing Ursa Major for a moment, and maybe the sit down that they had like at the cabin, it really fell short. Like there was nothing.
Yeah.
It could have been so much better. And
if that movie actually came out like where it is placed in the timeline, if it came out at that time, if that makes sense, like if they actually made that movie after Civil War and released it just before Infinity War, it actually would have been a much better movie. And I know, maybe with the Elena thing might have just like not made as much sense there. Like it probably hits more after she's dead. That it's like, oh, she has a sister now. I can kind of understand it from that point of view. But like, if you think about it, if they just went after we watched Civil War, we jump straight into that movie, and it's like, she's on the run from Ross and all these people, and it's like, you're wanted now and blah blah blah, and then by the end of it, she comes out with the short blonde hair and she's getting on the Quinjet to go and collect Cap and all. Like, show us that. You know what I mean? Like, and then it leads directly into Infinity War and it would have been perfect. Whereas, like, it's like, I know Evans was technically done at the time, but, it would have been great if, at the very end where she's like getting on the jet, if like he was already on it or something. It's like, come on, let's go. We got to break everybody out of the raft. That'd be fucking sick. Like, you know what I mean? It just would have brought us straight back into that like vibe of the Infinity War Endgame was like, and it just would have worked so much better.
I have to disagree. You've just opened my eyes to like the perfect cliffhanger that would have been like, it would have been like it would have been amazing. It would have been the best. So they keep everything that they have. After Civil War, you see Black Widow, you see the post credits, Yelena standing over the gravesite in front of Black Widow. We haven't watched Infinity War yet or Endgame. It hasn't come out.
Yeah,
it hasn't come out.
Yeah,
Yelena standing over the gravesite of Black Widow.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And you're shitting yourself in the theater, like, why is she dead? Is she playing dead? What the fuck happened? And then you get into the scene. Was it Endgame where she died, or was it Infinity War?
Endgame, yeah.
Imagine
where her and Clint are doing the whole pass back and forth.
Yeah, you don't know what happens until that point.
Yeah.
How amazing would that have been?
At the same time, though, when that scene comes around, you're going to be like, "This is her death scene." You know what I mean? Like,
But
like,
that's the point. That's the point. You're like, "Holy shit! This is what we've been waiting for." Yeah. We didn't know what was going to happen. It's like the best fucking moment of like that would have been the cinematically the best like reveal ever.
It would have been cool.
Would have been so heartfelt.
We proved that we can write better shit than these guys. Oh, it's so funny, dude.
It's okay to show that like you saw the gravesite of someone beforehand, because then you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then that starts getting people talking.
They do that shit on TV all the time as well. Like they'll start off a season, like I know, like Arrow did it one year where they started off a season and they're all at a funeral, and you're like, who the fuck died? And then it's like 6 months earlier, and you're like, oh my god, like we know there's a fucking funeral, so we know someone in the cast dies. Like, you know, they do that shit all the time on TV.
The first episode of Breaking Bad, fucking Bryan Cranston, like Walter White, comes out in just underwear and a shirt. He's got a gun, and you're like, what the fuck? And then it's like,
how did we get here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great, dude. It's great. Yeah. I think that's a great place to end it for the week, everybody. Like, fantastic cast, great chat this week, dude. We're not going to be here next week. We're going to be here the week after. When we come back, we're going to have the last 2 episodes in the full series of X-Men to break down, and any other nerdy news in between. Yeah, so have a great one, and make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you're listening to us, leave us a review, all that beautiful stuff, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye, guys.
Hey, everyone.
Bye-bye.